Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whenever you are watching this. Welcome back, folks, to Starkey Farmstead. Look, we have to talk about this, all right? So I need you to do two things real quick. Hit the like button, make sure you're subscribed. Three things, actually. Drop the comments, tell me who you are, where you are watching from. Nobody's talking about what I'm fixing to show you. You might find it on the small news channel in your town. You might see one article in the Washington Post, but nobody has sat down, to my knowledge, and said, look at all of this. What I'm going to show you today is so disturbing. Everything from fake veterinarians, good morning, sweetheart, all the way to fake classroom teachers. In other words, I'm going to show you proof of people here in the United States, both Americans and illegal aliens, that are using fraudulent license to be in positions they have not earned and were not trained for. In other words, your precious dog is sick. You need a vet you can afford, right? Because that is something to think about. And you see somebody on Facebook that claims they're a vet, right? They're a vet. They've treated 12,000 animals. They show you pictures of their animals, and you think you can trust these people. And then this happens.
Facebook who says he's a vet named Pit God. Well, the owner of a pit bull named Gucci says pretty much everything. So Pit God is a guy from Florida named Kenneth Wade Jr., and he operated a Facebook page where he offered a bunch of services relating to dogs, mainly pit bulls. But at some point, Pit God decided he wasn't just going to sell dogs, he was going to be a vet, even though he had no license and no training. He made posts on Facebook claiming that he treated 12,000 animals and that he was making so much money that he'd be retired within a couple years. One of those animals was a dog named Gucci, whose owner took her to a real vet who said she needed surgery for a bowel obstruction. The owner couldn't afford it, so she went to Pit God and paid him $350. And he said now he would do the surgery and decided that he was qualified to do that. He had Gucci for a week and he said he was taking care of her. But after a week, when the owner asked what was happening, he said that Gucci had miscarried, which was strange because she wasn't pregnant. He wouldn't give Gucci back, and he ultimately told the owner that she'd passed and sent her a photo of Gucci on a blanket. But Gucci was never found. He's now been arrested for grand theft dog. What could go wrong with her?
Now, that was an American citizen that acted like he was a vet. But it gets worse. As I began to dig this out, oh, awesome, friend. Somebody said I'm listening on their way to work. Good morning. As I began to dig into this story, I was so shocked because let me tell you guys something. When America was first being settled, founded, and the government was getting up on its feet, what they noticed was that there were a lot of people practicing dentistry, delivering babies, veterinarians, people that claimed they were attorneys and doctors, and they weren't. So the government put in safety, they put in measures to keep citizens safe, because that is the agreement that the Constitution is between you and your government. It says we, the United States government, will support and make sure that you, the United States citizen, is safe. Okay? That's what that agreement is about. So you can pursue life, liberty, and happiness. That's why we have a federal government. What is happening right now in America is we are now becoming a third world, and there's no way to debate that. There's no way to deny it. There is no way to say, Sam, you're just being overburdensome. No, America is becoming a third world. From our school teachers to our CDL drivers to the veterinarians working on your animals, there is a chance that any and all of those people may have a fraudulent identification and license to practice the field they're practicing in. What I noticed most was that it is a huge amount of illegal, undocumented people that do this. Here is a story of a man who tried to do a C-section on a Chihuahua in Florida, and the dog died. He was a fake vet. It says the 61-year-old Florida man is facing charges after a Chihuahua died receiving medical attention in his care. His name was Osvaldo Sanchez. He was a licensed pet groomer, not a licensed veterinarian. However, he still proceeded to do a C-section on this dog. Wow. Detectives said it was in a converted ambulance that Sanchez performed a C-section and spay procedure on the dog and removed a stillborn pup during the procedure. He charged the owners of the dog $600. The doctors noted Sugar's surgical incision was closed with string, and that infection had killed her. Let that sink in. For all you people in the immigrant communities that may see this video, that is not how we do it in America, friends. If you can't afford vet care, then you fundraise for it. You ask family and friends to help you. You go to universities that have veterinarian schools and you work out a payment plan, but you do not allow other undocumented illegal aliens to do this to your pets. That's not how we do it in America. The thing about this that bothers me the most is it is undocumented illegal people that tend to use these type of fraudulent situations, but they can't even go to the police because they're undocumented and illegal. So understand what I'm trying to say. You've got a person that comes into America, claims they are something they are not. This person uses their services. Their pets or their children are injured. These people cannot go to the police about this person. Do you see what I'm saying? That's why open borders turned you into a third world country. Let me keep going because it's time to blow your mind. Alexandria, Virginia, an investigation conducted by Homeland Security out of Washington, D.C. led two men pleading guilty to importing, manufacturing, and trafficking fraudulent identity documents. I can't even say these people's names, so get ready to laugh. Arya Abrimahai, 28, and Tariq Saeed Matawala, 31, sounds American, doesn't it? Entered their guilty pleas June 26th at the U.S. District Court in Eastern District of Virginia. This was July 1st of 2024, less than a year ago. It says, through their actions, they have enabled the illegal activity of countless other criminals. The two of them will pay their debt to society, but federal, state, and local authorities will potentially spend years cleaning up the mess these two men created. According to the investigation, they imported high-quality counterfeit driver's license and identification cards from China to the United States. They operated an online enterprising using various websites, including apexfakes.com and fakeyourdrink.com. In other words, fakeyourdrink.com. In other words, get a fake ID so you can go party, right? They opened bank accounts in the names of top-notch IT services and Apex Tech Services, through which customers made online payments. To receive shipments of fake IDs from China, the pair used fraudulent IDs and fake names. They rented a mailbox in Fairfax under the name Omar Mustafa, dear God help us, and another one in Vienna under the name Ahmad Mohammed. How original is that? Using 2 fake Illinois driver's license. Yep. Just wanted to share that one with you. Let me keep going. The DOJ, this is May 30th, 2025. The DOJ Civil Rights Fraud Initiative targets illegal DEI programs via the False Claims Act. The U.S. Department of Justice announced the creation of the Civil Rights Fraud Initiative in a memorandum used on May 19, 2025. The initiative is an enforcement effort that will use the Federal False Claims Act to pursue recipients of federal funding, including federal contractors and grant recipients like colleges and research institutions who allegedly falsely certify their compliance with federal civil rights laws. In other words, they're hiring people based on their skin color. They are directly not hiring you if you're white, if you're straight, if you're an American citizen. You get my point. Okay, so it goes on. It says the False Claims Act, FCA, is a potent tool used by the government to recover funds paid out as a result of fraud. The statute imposes civil liability on any person who knowingly presents a false claim for payment of government funds. The FCA also enables whistleblowers to receive a share of any money recovered in the litigation. So remember that. If you are part of a college or a nonprofit and you know that they illegally got grants and money from the federal government and what they're doing is wrong, like they're only giving it to illegal aliens, or they're intentionally being racist towards any group of Americans, you, the whistleblower, can receive a portion of the money that is recovered if you'll turn them in. Let that sink in. Oh, yeah. Miss D said, please put the link in for the newsletter in every video. Let me explain that real quick. What I do is at the end of the Zoom, in comments at the top, you'll see a comment from me. It'll say Starkey Farmstead. It'll say newsletter support Zoom. It'll show you all the ways, and you can click the link. I'm putting the link there to go to the Money app. From there, you send whatever you can afford, $1, $30, $300, it doesn't matter. You put your email address in the memo, and then we get you on the newsletter list. There will be a Zoom coming up next week. I did have to move my trip to Seattle from this week to next week. My daughter is having a minor procedure, and this mama does not want her child in anybody's hands while she is coming out of anesthesia. You guys understand, right? Doing what I do, I know what's out there, and I want to be there for my child. I want to get her there and get her home safely. So this mama is going to fly to Seattle for that purpose. But before I fly out for Seattle, we will Zoom Monday. It will be the same Zoom code and passcode as it has been the prior 3 times. So I hope that answers some of your questions. A lot of you are like, where do I sign up for the newsletter? You sign up through the Money apps, but you put your email address in the memo. All right. So it says here, the initiative and its encouragement will likely lead to a significant increase in investigations and eventually litigation relating to DEI initiatives, and should prompt critical analysis of all DEI related policies and practices by federal funding recipients. It's super, super exciting that they're going to be doing this. Trump's not stupid. He knows how to get people to tell on each other, right? Just say that Brown University got a $3 million DEI federal funded grant to look into how white Americans are very racist, but they will only hire Black and brown people to work on that grant. If you're somebody that would be part of that grant and realize they're breaking federal law, you could turn them into the federal government as a whistleblower, and you would get a percentage of that $3 million grant when they take it back. Wow. Not a bad deal. All right, guys, moving on. Fake ID producers indicted. Indicted. This is bad. When I found these articles, I couldn't even go to bed. This was June 20th, 2024, Phoenix, Arizona. And here we go again with these not American names. Jonathan De La Riva Lorenzo, 46, and Fernandez Rodriguez, 48, both undocumented citizens, non-citizens residing in Phoenix, were indicted last week by a federal grand jury in Phoenix. Each was charged with one count of conspiracy to commit fraud in connection with the production of identification documents. Basically, what these two guys did, they produced, possessed, and provided false identification documents that were made to have been issued by the United States. They worked together to make fraudulent identity documents, including lawful permanent resident cards, green cards, social security cards, and state identification cards for undocumented non-citizens. I thought all these people were here to make our country better. Isn't that what Democrats told us? Excuse me. Oh, wow. Thank you. Angela Portes says, I am a nurse in Florida, and the first time had to get an electronic fingerprint with a photo to renew the license to weed out the illegal nurses. It was worth the $80. Angela, let me explain something. They need to go one step further. Anybody that's coming in, like Filipino nurses, South African nurses, those people should have to have their stuff in a database. And if that number to their license is used anywhere else in the country, they and whoever used it should be deported and banned from the United States. Because what's happening with the immigrant nurses is one person is using the same license for 10 or 20 people to work. And I'm fixing to prove it. I found it in articles last night. All right, so let's keep going. Here's one. Owners, operators, and employees of a fraudulent nursing diploma scheme. This was January 25th, 2023. A massive coordinated scheme to sell false and fraudulent nursing degree credentials has been brought down by a joint federal law enforcement operation. At first reported by ABC News, officials said the scheme involved peddling more than $100 million worth of bogus nursing diplomas and transcripts over the course of several years, sold to thousands of people so that they could become licensed practicing nurses. I hate to do this. Hold on, guys. My alarm's going off, and I can't stand to listen to it. I apologize. If I wouldn't have gotten up and taken care of that, I'd have had police at my house in just a minute. So a motion detector must have picked something up. So I apologize. This is what happens when you do it rough like I do it, right? I don't have an office. I have a house. So let's keep talking about this, folks. It said these thousands of people took shortcuts to becoming nurses. Officials said the forged diplomas and transcripts were sold from what had been an accredited school to aspiring nurses in order to help candidates bypass the qualifying requirements necessary to sit for the National Nursing Board exam. Although they still had to take the exam, the bogus credentials allowed them to skip competency and licensures processes and hands-on nursing skills. In other words, they could get somebody else to take the test for them. I found an article saying that thousands of nurses never went in to take the license test that they have to take. Excuse me. The competency and licensure process. There were people who would pay thousands of dollars to have somebody else go sit in and take the written test for them. Then they would turn around and pay for a diploma and a transcript from the school that was accredited at the time. The conspiracy involved the district, you ready for this? 7,600 fake nursing diplomas and certificates issued by a Florida-based nursing program. 7,600, that is 7,600 fake nurses that did not earn that diploma that might be working on you right now across America. That's just one. That's just one case I found. One. The sweeping enforcement action spanned 5 states: Florida, New York, New Jersey, Texas, and Delaware, and resulted in more than 24 criminal wire fraud and wire fraud conspiracy charges against 25 different people. We expect our healthcare professionals to be who they claim they are. Specifically, when we talk about a nurse's education and credentials, shortcut is not a word we want to use. When we take an injured son or daughter to a hospital emergency room, we don't expect and really cannot imagine that the licensed practical nurse or registered nurse taking care of our child is not a real nurse. It was called Operation Nightingale. So the federal government began something called Operation Nightingale in like 2022 because there were so many fake doctors, nurses aides across America that it was becoming a real issue. The nursing candidates who participated in this scheme paid as much as $15,000 for their fake diplomas and credentials. The defendants included owners, operators, and employees of the schools who prepared and sold fake nursing school diplomas and transcripts to nursing candidates, knowing that the candidates would use those false documents to 1, sit for a nursing board exam, secure a nurse's license, and obtain a nursing job in medical facilities across the country. He said there were recruiters who did this. Wow. It says, pointed to the pledge of ethics and principles that nurses take called the Nightingale Pledge. They pledge that they're going to abstain from any deleterious act They will do all in their power to enhance and honor the profession. Clearly, these individuals did not do that. Yeah, that's just one article, my friends. Here's another. This is why I'm so concerned about this. Nobody's talking about it. You read one article here, but you don't realize it is connected to hundreds, if not thousands, of individual instances around the United States. We have become a third world. When somebody now on the internet says, well, I have a college degree, just laugh. They could have paid $15,000 for fake credentials, especially those people who say, well, I'm not American. I've been here since I was 5. Well, you probably got a fake degree then, sweetheart. It says here, now this is really interesting. This was sent out by the U.S. Department of Justice, the Office of the Deputy Attorney General, March 6th, 2025. All department employees. Operation Take Back America. Can we all say that together? Operation Take Back America. Since January 20th, 2025, the Justice Department has taken numerous steps to empower prosecutors and law enforcement operating in districts around the country to protect their communities from the ongoing threats and risk that American people elected President Donald Trump to address. The Organized Crime Drug Enforcement Task Forces, OCDETF, and the Project Safe Neighborhoods program have long been central to these types of efforts in the field. This memorandum establishes a single initiative, Operation Take America Back. I like that. They will use the OCDETF and the PSN resources to implement core policy objectives established by President Trump and the Attorney General. Repealing the invasion of illegal immigration. Executive Order 14159, entitled Protecting the American People Against Invasion, describes the invasion of criminal aliens under the previous administration. Those aliens present significant threats to national security, public safety, committing vile and heinous acts against innocent Americans, including espionage, economic espionage, and preparation for terror-related activities. I think we all know that. When I did the video last night about truck drivers and their CDLs and how there are thousands of undocumented illegal people in this country driving 18-ton vehicles, and that's without anything in them, across this country. That is economic espionage. They're trafficking stolen goods. They're trafficking children. They are trafficking toxic chemicals that they've not been trained to properly handle. It says we will achieve total elimination of cartels and transnational criminal organizations. Executive Order 14157. We will establish a Homeland Security Task Force. Executive Order 14159. Charging the most serious, readily providable offense. In February 5th, 2025 memorandum, the Attorney General established a charging policy around a core principle. In the absence of unusual facts, prosecutors should charge and pursue the most serious, readily available offense. It said the memorandum noted the department's focus on illegal immigration, human trafficking and smuggling, and crimes by cartels such as the TDA and the MS-13, including through Joint Task Forces Alpha and Vulcan. Restoring the death penalty, Executive Order 14164, entitled Restoring the Death Penalty and Protecting Public Safety. Sorry, guys. That would be my parents. Let me do this real quick, because if I don't, they're just going to call me right back because they love me. All right. Sorry about that. It goes on to say, creation of Operation Take Back America requires that the OCDETF surge existing resources to address the Justice Department's core enforcement priorities: stopping illegal immigration, eliminating cartels, and ending illegal trafficking of dangerous drugs and human beings. This is a really interesting article. You can find it at justice.gov. It is your government. This is what I'm saying. A lot of people just don't know how to research. They don't know where to find real information. This is the article that I just kind of glanced over for you. I didn't want to read the whole thing. It's kind of boring unless you like that stuff, you know. Let's get back. Connie Medgar Evers College lecturer sentenced for selling fake college certificates. November 1st, 2018. So it says here that in Southern District of New York, Mamadou Abdel Sihad, a former full-time lecturer at the City University of New York's Medgar Evers College, was sentenced to only 6 months in prison for selling sham college certificates and completion of coursework at the college. Yeah. He sounds real American, doesn't he? Oh, this is a good one. This one's right out of Louisiana. Updated February 8th, 2025. Louisiana high school teacher under investigation for fraud. Lufkin High School girls track and field coach Taisha Holt is under investigation for allegedly obtaining a fraudulent teaching certificate. So not only was it a lot of illegal aliens, and I'm not being racist, I'm being truthful, there were a lot of Black people who received these fake teaching certificates. I went through and looked at everybody's photos. It says that in October, Harris County then District Attorney Kim Ogg charged multiple educators for leading the scheme, including Houston Washington High School basketball coach Vincent Grayson, who was the ringleader, who made $1 million from teacher candidates paying impersonators to take and pass certification exams for them. Wow. Oh, here's a good one. More Houston area teachers identified for potential involvement in certification scheme. The Texas Education Agency has released the names of 60 more teachers who are under investigation for allegedly obtaining fraudulent teaching certifications as part of a scheme rooted in Houston, February 7th, 2025. So I'm just going to let you guys glance and see how many of these names, how many of those sound American to you? Here's my point. At this point, you're a school teacher, you're a veterinarian, you're a dentist, you're OBGYN, the truck driver dropping off your package from Amazon. All of those people could have a fraudulent, fake identification and a fraudulent, fake license to do the job they are currently doing. Yep. Oh, wow. Here's another one. This one's out of California. I just thought I would show you guys how extensive this is and put it all in one video for you so you understood why some of us are screaming, close the borders and deport every illegal immigrant in this country, every one of them. Blue state fraud triggers call for investigation over betrayal to taxpayers. California Republican lawmakers in Congress are calling for the Department of Justice and the Department of Education to investigate fake community college applications meant to take federal and state taxpayer dollars through financial aid. So let me explain what they're trying to say here. There are people with fake IDs applying for community college and university. In blue states, you do not have to be a U.S. citizen to get federal funding, right? I don't know how that works, or state funding. So this person who is a not person using a not American ID applies for federal and state funding, gets the funding, and never shows up for college. Who do you think is going to pay off all these trillions of dollars in debt for colleges and universities? Who's going to pay that back? People with real IDs. That's right. In 2024, California community colleges claimed that 34% of their applicants were really an effort to defraud, which was an increase from 20% in 2020. Why do you think it went up 14%? Maybe because a whole lot extra came across the border. The system's chancellor's office shows, according to Cal Matters, that $10 million in federal taxpayer dollars and $3 million in aid from the Golden State have been lost as a result of financial aid fraud through Pell Grants. So it matters when they bust somebody that's giving fake green cards and fake credentials to be a U.S. citizen, because then they take those fake documents, they go get a fake identification at a driver's, a DMV. Then they go to places like California and apply for university and get 4, 5, 6, 10,000, 20,000 in fake student aid. But see, the real thing is that's real money that you have to pay back now. But you know what? They're all welcome because immigrants built America and they're such a great part of our country. And isn't America such a beautiful country now with all this diversification? Don't you guys just love the country you live in where you're taxed to breaking point? And these people just be stealing left and right. And it's okay. Go back to sleep, especially you Democrats. Tell you a real story. My daughter, the girl that was her roommate originally at her college in the dorms, moved out. She got a new roommate that was Chinese. The girl showed up, didn't speak a lick of English, not one word. Filled out paperwork, got shown to her room, left one bag. Left, never came back. My daughter called me and said, it's been 2 weeks. I think, Mom, that she's fake. Like she either came here on a student visa and has now disappeared into the ether, or she was here on fake ID and just needed to get the money. Because see, this is how it works. They put all the student aid into students' accounts. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. I just wanted to share that with you guys today. Look, my parents just pulled up. I've got to go take care of some business. If you want to get the newsletter and the Zoom to talk about missing children and other topics like that, look in the top of comments. You just got to send whatever you can afford. Make sure to put your email in the memo of whatever app you lose. God bless you guys. Love you so much.